I'm not a financial advisor. Before you make any investment decisions, make sure you consult with a financial professional.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Tree Source. I'm Aaron Lewis. Today, I want to talk about three things. I want to talk about first, the structure of Tree Source. Second, the state of my kids' custodials, because that's going to lead into me creating my own Tree Source for the family bank that we're going to use in the future. And then also my plan for our Tree Source, or how I transition into it after finishing up with the kids' custodials. So it's kind of a four-step process. The first step is I keep saying you, I'm talking to you, but it's about me. So what I'm saying is the first step is I will create an investment account. I don't have any endorsements of any brokerages. Any brokerage would work. For me, I'm going to use I've been showing Stash because that's where I have my kids' custodial accounts. But for the Tree Source that I'm going to create, I'm probably going to use, I think Schwab is what I'm going to end up using, because I've used TD Ameritrade before and I feel comfortable in that. And they have a lot of funds that I like, so I'll do it in there. I could stick with Stash, but I have an account in there already that I'm just going to keep going with. But for the Tree Source, it's going to be separate from my personal stuff because, again, this is a family bank I'm building. Similar to what the Rockefeller Trust is. If you've ever heard of the Rockefeller Trust, there's plenty of videos on YouTube about it. As soon as a family member is born, they would get a life insurance policy, and that policy at term would go into the trust, and it would just keep building and building. For me, I've heard some things about the way that those function is basically they function off of equities and investments. That's how they're able to build over time. So why not just go straight to the horse's mouth? I feel that was what led me to go into equities rather than life insurance. So long and short, that's what it is. First, I'm going to open an account. And then step two is starting the funding. In the past, when I first started investing, I started small. I would start with like $5 a week, then $10, and kind of like I said in the first video. But now that I'm used to investing, I would be totally okay with doing $150 a month, and that's my plan. I'm gonna do $150 a month after I finish the kids' custodial accounts. Then the third step would be to place it inside of a trust, like I've said. And to do that, I'll need a lawyer to help me kind of figure out the languages, because I'm going to create safeguards so that way in the future generations, they don't just deplete it. If it's set there, I plan to have it. At this point right now, my plan is to let it sit for 60 years because the kids have the custodials. I'm not concerned about them needing to draw from it. So I feel like it can really sit for a long time. 60 years, 100 years, we'll see. That's something I'm going to suss out. I'm going to get a lawyer. We're going to figure out the guardrails. Some guardrails will be like the total amount that they can draw from the account, like for a year. And this is for all the heirs. The total amount that is available to draw would be 50% of the previous year's growth. So if it is growing at $1 million a year, only 500,000 would be available to my heirs to be able to pull for business investments, school tuition, specific things that it will be available for. They can't just go in there and say, "Oh, I want a new car, give me some money." It's not a piggy bank that they can raid at any time. It's set up for specific things so that they don't fall on their face. And it can be a real resource to prop them up in the future so that way they can achieve their dreams. Some other examples are like a potential, like they can borrow up to 20% of a down payment on a house. Maybe I can even go further and say it will match up to 20% of whatever they put down. So if they put down 20%, they can get another 20% from the Tree Source, and that would be 40% of the home purchase. That would be a real boom for anybody. I mean, think about it today. What if you had that kind of an asset on your hands, in your family, to be able to lean on? That would significantly reduce your monthly payment. And you can even, instead of doing a 30-year mortgage, it would be very easy to do a 15-year mortgage with a balance like that. Another idea is like, kind of like up to up to 20% of tuition for school for the year, or 20% investment, up to 20% investment on a new business in conjunction with an approved business loan from a bank. So there's rules that I'm going to talk to my lawyer about, see what we can figure out. And once I get that all kind of sussed out, I'll come back and talk to you guys about what I figured out and share, and we'll move on from there. Then it's just sit and wait. You park it in the trust. It's got guardrails. It also has a timer on it. I'm setting mine, like I said, for probably 60 years, something like that. Will be my goal for it to sit, because then time is the magic ingredient. It's only $10,000. That's, payments of $100 a month, or I'm going to do $150 a month. Or maybe I'll do $100 just so we all kind of see the exact plan. The bottom line is it's going to be $10,000 placed in an account, and it's going to sit. And that's the fourth step of Tree Source, is letting it sit for a determined amount of time. I'll figure that part out. I'm leaning towards 60 years right now. It could be 70 years. We'll see what it ends up being. So that's the structure of the Tree Source. And I've got this nice graphic. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to post that. I'm going to post a link to this graphic in the description, so that way you can print it out, use it. You can make your own version if you like it. If you have an idea of what to do to create a family bank for yourself at Tree Source, then use this, manipulate it, do whatever you want. I don't think this will be editable, though. It's a graphic, but it's something to get started. Then what else? The kids. My plan. Let's take a look at kind of where they are. As you can see, I made this document, the sheet that shows their deposits from the opening of their account. I opened their accounts in January of 2019. It was at the end of the month, so the first deposit, I set it to do $25 a month, or $25 a week, because I get paid when I work as an editor. I get paid weekly, so maybe it's easier to plan based off of. I feel like it's easier to plan based off of when I got paid, because I felt more confident about, okay, at least there'll be money that day, So I set it for $25 a week. Ends up being $100 a month. Some months have some months have 4 paid periods, some months have 5 paid periods. For me, if I were bi-weekly, then it would be 2 paid periods, maybe 3. So Franklin, you can see for that first month, 100, 125, the 631. Because he's older, and I said in a previous video, I did open an account for him early on and then just kind of dropped the ball. But I tried to make up a little bit of difference. So that's why he has a 630 deposit, and hers are pretty regular for that first month. So he ended up, in that first year, 2019, he ended up at 1730, and she ended up at 1245. So he's ahead a little bit. So I kept it pretty steady for 2020. There was a lot of questions about work that year. I lost some work because of it, because of the lockdown, COVID, we all know. But then 2021, came back better for reality TV. We learned how to work remotely, and it stayed pretty solid. So in 2021, I felt confident boosting it up a little bit. So I went from 25 a week to 35 a week, I believe. And you'll see these numbers, they kind of came up. So by the end of 2021, that's the second year. He's already at 4,875, excuse me. And Fiona was at 4,380. So we're making good progress. At the end of that year, I was like, well, we're halfway. All right. Then 2022, I kind of maintained the pace for most of the year. And then halfway through, you can see I bumped them both up a bunch. So I think at that point, I was like 60 a month. I don't know, something like that. I bumped a 60 a week. Somebody's good with math. 70 a week. 70 a week is what I ended up at. So that's why it's 280 or 350. By the end of 2022, Franklin had 7,805 and Fiona had 7,190. This isn't the what the account value was. These are the deposits I'm making. So that's the point of the Tree Source plan. I'm making the deposits up to 10,000, and then I leave it alone. 2023, that's when the mess occurred for me. The strikes hit, everything ground to a halt. So in January, that was the last month that I contributed to their funds. And then in February, I had to cut it off. We had to tighten all the belts. We couldn't, I wanted to keep going, but I knew, well, I didn't know when the next job was going to be. At that point in January, February, I thought it was going to be April or May. And I was like, okay, we'll just pause for a couple months. And then once I start working again, we'll start it right back up. But the slide just kind of kept going, and they just kept stringing us along, and so unfortunately, 2023 wasn't a big year for them. They only went up almost $300. So Franklin ended at $8,085, and Fiona had $7,470. And then 2024, we moved, and I started their funds again, using the money from the sale of the house. I felt like, we're so close. I just want to set them up. Whatever happens to me happens. And I just wanted them to be okay in the future. So this is when we started incentivizing them to invest back in June. They kept asking for things, and we didn't have money for stuff. So I didn't want them to feel like we were this endless piggy bank. So we said, okay, well, if you do some chores, whatever chores you do, you can earn some money, and then 10% of whatever money you earn will go into your investment. I want to teach them the lesson of investing that I never learned. So we're guiding them, and they had a great year. This is $39, add a zero. Franklin made $390 doing chores. Fiona earned $370 doing chores. That's great. And they're putting that money to work for them. And I tell them, you're planting this money like a seed. It's going to grow over time. And now they can start to see it because it's starting to turn a decent profit. So down here, Franklin is currently at $8,855 in deposits. So what is that? $1,145 until he reaches the $10,000 in contributions, whereas Fiona is a little bit behind. So I expect Franklin to be there before Fiona. And when he does, then we'll use that money for the tree source I'm going to create, and I'll show you guys, and that will be the journey we'll take together. So this is like just a couple months away that we're going to be doing this for sure. I'll do weekly updates of where it is and how it's going. I've already gotten great advice from some of my friends and family since my first video. It's been a great response. One friend told me about a book. It's called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle, who created Vanguard. And Vanguard is one of the major, mutual funds. They're a major investment company, and they do mutual funds. And I remember hearing the name Vanguard from back when I worked for a CPA who's a financial advisor who advised me when I became an editor, and I should have listened to him, but I didn't because I was an idiot. I spent all the money. But I remember him talking about Vanguard, and so I'm familiar with them being around. They've been around for a long time, and they're solid. So if Jack Bogle has something good to say, I kind of want to listen to him. So I'm going to check out that book. If you guys check it out too, let me know. If you read it, let me know what you think. And then my cousin gave me some great advice. She's an investment advisor. She recommended a 529. I was interested in it. I had a hockey buddy who recommended it, and he raved about it. His daughter graduated college debt free. I was like, that's something to think about. But because both my kids are on the spectrum, I'm just not sure where they're going to go. If they're going to pursue higher education after high school, or if they're going to go right into business or work or military or whatever. I don't know what they're going to, I don't know where they're going to go. So I don't want to kind of pigeonhole them. I want to free them up to do what they feel most comfortable doing. And if you have any other, I want to hear your ideas too about this tree source. If you have recommendations, thoughts, because right now my focus is to do an S&P fund and Invesco QQQ, a NASDAQ fund. So if you have any other thoughts of different funds that perform better, have better records, let me know. Let's have this discussion. Put it in the comments. I'd rather have it so everybody can see it. But if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. Private, you can send me a private email. You can find my email, or you can email me. I think if you go to like about in the about tabs, you can find the email there. Fiona's will reach 10,000 a little later than Franklin's, and that's okay. Because I have other plans for other tree sources. Remember, tree source is a thing. It's a small ask, $100 a month. It's not something that breaks the bank. I'm already doing it. I'm doing more than that. So I feel like I have other ideas about who could benefit from a fund like that. We're talking about charities, churches, animal rescues. There's a lot of nonprofits who could use funds and stuff like that. So I feel like, I don't know, we'll see. I have some ideas about where I'm going to put another tree source. The beauty of this plan is you can benefit whoever you want. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that later. But first, we're going to finish getting the kids all set up with their custodial accounts that are designed in the tree source fashion, and then we'll move from there. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
I'm not a financial advisor. Before you're making any investment decisions, make sure you consult with your financial advisor or a certified financial planner.